This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my daily combat sports news update. Raw did a 0.4 rating this week on a show that was basically full of Dominic Mysterio, who they're trying to shove down people's throats. I saw some of the highlights and it didn't seem very entertaining. Rusev is in AEW now, the guy that was last seen with Bobby Lashley making out with his wife on top of him. He allowed that to happen in WWE without a contract, which is crazy. And then they ended up releasing him, which is just sad. I don't know really what his value is or how anyone can respect him after that. Kurt Angle told the Sun media in the UK that he doesn't see Brock Lesnar going to AEW for less than somewhere between 10 and 20 million. He's close friends with Brock Lesnar, and he says he just doesn't see it happening. He thinks that Lesnar will end up back in WWE. Forbes released the list of the top billionaires. They had the list of the 400 richest Americans. Vince McMahon did not make the list. He only had $1.8 billion as his net worth. However, Shad, who owns AEW, basically give the company to his son to run as a little project, since when you're rich, you can give your kids companies to run, much like Dixie Carter had Impact for a while there that was funded by Panda Energy. Anyway, Shad Khan was number 6 on the list of 400 top richest Americans at $7.8 billion. So he's worth much more than Vince McMahon, who was only worth $1.8 million. The U.S. Court of Appeals has dismissed the WWE Concussion Lawsuit, which was a class action lawsuit. Billy Jack Haynes was involved with it. There was a long list of wrestlers on it: Road Warrior Animal, Sylvain Grenier, King Kong Bundy, Jimmy Snuka. I think I already mentioned Demolition. Butch Reed was in it. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. And that was related to the wrestlers saying the company didn't protect them from repeated head injuries that could have resulted in CTE. So by dismissing the case, the Connecticut District Court basically says that WWE couldn't have known that concussions or head injuries would cause CTE. So they say that WWE wouldn't have known that head injuries would cause permanent damage. I do know, as I mentioned yesterday in my report on Vader, my dealings with Vader, that he had CTE. Billy Jack Haynes definitely has CTE. Whether it's just from WWE, probably not. He was an amateur boxer. He did spar with pro boxers. He got in a huge amount of fights. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly where you get the CTE from. There's no question you can get it from wrestling, from all the bumps that you take. And yes, for the most part, the punches and kicks don't hit, but there are potatoes here and there. Sean Wood says Lesnar should have enough money to retire at this point. He definitely does, but he's 43 years old. He's still at, like, Bill Goldberg's, 53, 54, still making millions and millions from WWE. Why would you retire if you have the potential to make millions and millions and millions of dollars, between 10 and 20 million, for an easy schedule? Most people would still do it. Sean Wood says McMahon will make a lot more once Trump leaves office. I don't know about that. David Hugh, any word from Billy Jack? Apparently he's back in Portland. Haven't heard from him directly, but I've heard from someone that I guess he's dating or living with this guy's mother, and he said that Billy Jack's back in Portland. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Devon Hannibal, and if you DM me, I'll follow you back. We're also on the Hannibal TV on Twitter. Dean Jenkins, do I have any more UFO info? There's more that's supposed to be released soon. I always follow the news on the UFO stuff, but one of the former members of the task force that was involved in researching UFO activity for the government of the United States, Luis Elizondo, I think his name is, recently said, for the people that say, like Dr. Stephen Greer, for instance, he says, don't worry about UFOs. They're not a threat. We don't know what they are. We don't know what their purpose are here. We don't know what they want. Luis Elizondo had something interesting to say. It's like if someone came into your house and you woke up in the morning and there was muddy footprints all over your house. You knew someone was in your house. They didn't necessarily take anything. They didn't harm anyone, but they've been in your house. So they violated your space, just like these UFOs are violating our airspace, not just the United States, not just Canada, but airspace all around the world. These things are cited. So I'm going to continue researching it. And as I said, there's supposed to be more news that are more declassified information coming from the government soon. They did release 3 videos shot by U.S. Navy pilots back in 2017. Then the Pentagon officially released them again this year. But those are they've admitted those are just small clips of longer videos. And they never said those were the only videos. There's actually more videos on that. So yes, I will be continuing to research that. Little Weep says, best wrestling news channel from Edmonton. I beat Brutus the Barber Beefcake in Edmonton, Alberta back in, I think it was 2007. And I also was, Abdullah the Butcher and I were tag team partners there once. We beat the living hell out of 2 people. I remember that the promoter for that show went in the dressing room after, or the bathroom, and was like, what the fuck happened here? Because it literally looked like we had slaughtered a pig or something in the bathroom after those 2 guys had been in there after the match. Anthony says he's 2 hours away from Area 51 here in Vegas. See stuff all the time, even in the day. And some of the stuff that is seen is, by the way, test vehicles and classified government vehicles. But when the government is showing footage of clips of these unidentified aircraft in our airspace doing crazy stuff that we cannot do, including going out of the atmosphere, going underwater, accelerating at massive speeds, stopping in midair from massive speeds, shooting out in all different directions. If we actually have that technology and it's ours, why are we still flying in airplanes? Why does it take 3 or 4 hours to fly from New York to LA if there's so much better technology and it's actually just ours that we're keeping secret? I just don't buy that. Stuart says CTE, Conrad Thompson Entertainment. Funny. Vipul Doshi, is Sunny still on the run? I believe she is incarcerated. She's actually not on the run. I believe she's actually was put back in prison after violating her parole. Look up the Kecksburg UFO incident. Probably will. And by the way, if you subscribe to my second YouTube channel, Devon Nicholson, I post my full shoot interviews on that channel. So for the people that don't like watching the clips and other stuff, that second channel, Devon Nicholson, is just my full shoot interviews. Antifa Slayer says, check out The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. If that's the most recent one, I was highly disappointed in it. I rented it on YouTube Movies, if that's the one that George Knapp was involved with, and it didn't show anything new that isn't already online. I was highly disappointed in it. David says he's 30 minutes from Kecksburg. And today, by the way, is September 9th. 2020. Back on September 9th, 1991, Ric Flair made his debut on WWE TV on Primetime Wrestling. That was a taped segment. As someone just asked me who's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Ric Flair would be up there, Chalky. But why it's relevant, because also on this day in 1991, right here, in Ottawa, Canada, in an arena that I wrestled in, Ric Flair actually made his wrestling debut. He wrestled at a Superstars taping that I was at, and that's the one where he had that incident with Roddy Piper and Vince McMahon, and he wrestled a bunch of times on that card too. The main event of that show was Sid against The Undertaker in a body bag match, which Sid won. And Sid was over like crazy at that time, more over even than The Undertaker. But unfortunately, because Sid moved around so much, he never reached his full potential. And by the way, I've defeated Sid. I hold a victory over Sid, by the way. Sean Wood wonders what's buried under Skinwalker Ranch. A lot of people think it's like it's an interdimensional, there's like an interdimensional blip around Skinwalker Ranch. I'll do a whole video on Skinwalker Ranch sometime because of all the activity that went on there. A lot of crazy stuff went on there and supposedly still goes on there. Chris, best and worst shoot interview experience. I've said it a bunch of times. Probably my worst was Juventud Guerrera. My best, there have been so many good ones. The Vader one would be up there because I had a lot of fun on that Vader trip, and I won't tell everything I did on that trip, maybe one day in my book. Vippool Doshi says, do I know about the incident at Devil's Den? Crazy UFO encounter. No, I don't. You can email me at greatnorthwrestling@gmail.com or PM me on Devon Hannibal Nicholson Facebook or Devon Hannibal on Twitter and tell me about it. Sean Wood states the deed on the property says no digging as far as Skinwalker Ranch. There was a reason for that, because the digging on the property with the original owners, the digging seemed to cause issues, and we'll get into that on another time. Brett Fennell says the man they call Vader. Brian Wayne says the Honky Tonk Man shoots have been my best interviews. He's a good interview. I'll probably get another one with him one day. He holds the record. I think the most popular shoot interview online on any channel is my 3-hour interview with the Honky Tonk Man, which has over 3 million hits. Medicine Man says he saw a video the other day where Flair actually nailed his top rope move instead of being caught. Kind of cool. Iowa Joe, have I seen the reboot of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix? Yes, I have. And it was all right. Wasn't a big fan of it. Not as good as the original. Barra7331 tips me $5. I can say whatever I want. If people are going to run their mouths about me and start shit with me, I'll say whatever I want. There's no rules if you're going to mess with someone, if you're going to take cheap shots at them, and not just cheap shots at me, but other people as well. But I've talked about that scumbag enough on this channel, and anyone that supports a discriminatory individual such as him is also a loser. So you can fuck off out of my channel. Sean Wood, thoughts on Travis Walton? Interesting character. Interesting character. For sure. Stuart, tip me $1. Great. Hey, I'm never going to complain even about $1. Every dollar counts, and I appreciate all of your tips. Yaka Boom says, get Vince Russo on again. I will. Sean Wood wants a Bubba Ray Dudley interview. Could very well happen. By the way, I do post my full shoots on the Great North Wrestling podcast on iTunes. The link is in the description of this video, along with our merchandise sites, where you can get the Hannibal TV, fanny packs, coffee mugs, T-shirts, as well as Great North Wrestling T-shirts. So have a great night, everybody.